give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door.
What's up, everybody? It's your host with the most left swipes on Tinder, Nerdpool, back here for another episode of the Livecast. Today we're going to be discussing Black Clover, because I recently finished watching Season 1, and I figured what better to do than a tier list of the Black Bulls. The greatest bunch of rejects the Magic Knights have to offer. Over here we got our tiers. We got S, A, B, C, and Unknown. I figure that's pretty self-explanatory. Unknown obviously will be for anybody that hasn't been introduced in Season 1. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it. First off, we've got Ghosh Adley. The majority of the time he's seen on screen, he's seen with a nosebleed and obsessing over a pic of his little sister, Marie, who lives in an orphanage. He's an utter prick to everybody, including the nun that takes care of Marie, and anybody that gets in his way, except for Marie. And he's especially a dick to Asta, because Marie meets Asta, and she likes him. So, of course, Ghosh wants to kill Asta. But he has really cool mirror magic, which he uses to shoot rays of light towards his enemies, and he can also make a clone of himself and do twice the amount of damage. And also, he's got a jewel for his left eye. So, based on all that, I'm going to put Ghosh in B tier. He's not a great character, he's kind of cool, mostly because of his magic. Honestly, if it wasn't because of his mirror magic, he'd probably be in C tier, especially because of that sister complex. Weird. Next, we've got Gordon Agrippa. He is introduced in episode 4, and we really don't know much about him. He mumbles a lot, and coupled with his appearance, he generally creeps people out. He is shown keeping a diary, and he cares deeply about his friends, because that's what he writes about in his diary. But as of right now, we don't even know what kind of magic he uses. So I'm going to have to stick him in C tier. Next up is a character I had to look up. Apparently his name is Zora, and we haven't been introduced to him yet, so he's going into Unknown. Alright, moving right along. Next up we've got Noel Silva. Noel is introduced in episode 4. She's a noble woman of House Silva, a royal family of snobs. Arrogance runs through every member's veins, but Noel is viewed as a mistake and mistreated, not even allowed to join the Silver Eagles, because her mother died during labor, and that's probably why her siblings hate her. She has water magic, but lacks control over her power and frequently needs saved. She has the hots for Asta, but doesn't want to admit it, and frequently hurts him whenever he's nice to her. We call that a tsundere, I believe. But because of his encouragement, she's been improving greatly. When she finally unleashed her power against Veto, someone who beat like 20 mages plus 5 members of the Black Bulls before she attacked him, she blew his fucking arm off. I don't know how much more I can emphasize on that. She is a beast in a little girl's body. And I'm going to put her in A tier. If she wasn't such a snobby bitch, I'd probably put her in S. But that's part of her personality, and yeah, I understand it. Next up, we've got Gray, whose real name we don't know. And she is a 24-year-old woman who uses transformation magic. So for the majority of season 1, we didn't even know she was a she. While transformed into someone else, Gray is cheery and sometimes cocky and arrogant, but as herself, she's easily embarrassed just by looking at her. So, based on what we know about her, I'm going to put her in C tier as well. I assume she could become useful later on in the series, but for now, she's kind of just like a gag character from what I can see. She had one useful moment, but I don't want to do too many spoilers in this episode. Next up, we've got Magna Swing. Magna is introduced in episode 6 as a tough guy type, the member of the Black Bulls. He's short-tempered and says whatever pisses him off, he lets you know. Whatever you're doing, if it's pissing him off, he will absolutely tell you. He'll pick a fight with damn near anyone, but mostly Luck, because Luck pisses him off the most. He's always pulling pranks on him, stealing his food, electrocuting him. So those two often get in fights. He uses fire magic, and he has a badass broom that he uses to ride around instead of a regular broom like most of the mages use to get around. I'm pretty fond of him, and I also think he's a sports fan because he'll be seen using a fire baseball bat and a fire ball and hitting it, like he's playing baseball. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to put him up in A tier as well. Next up, we have Vanessa. Sexy, sexy Vanessa. She's a 24-year-old drunk witch who we mainly see laying around almost naked with a bottle in her hand. Not complaining. Then in the underwater temple, we finally see her in action, and she uses thread magic where she controls Asta's movements like a puppet to assist in defeating Veto. Other than that, all we know is she left the Forest of Witches because she had the hots for Yami. But that's not too bad, I guess. I'm going to have to put her in a B. She's not quite as useless as these two. She's done some cool stuff, but she hasn't been quite as prevalent as Noel and Magna. Next up on our list, we've got Black Volca. If you couldn't tell by the name, he uses lightning magic. He's a happy-go-lucky kid that just wants to fight strong people, to the point he always asks for death matches, even to people that are clearly stronger than him. He puts his squad in constant danger in dungeons by purposefully activating traps. He's kind of like Goku, but the only emotion he knows is joy. He doesn't really get angry. He has some really cool techniques, like the Lightning God boots, which you see him zipping around. It looks like the speed of light. I don't know. It's hard to calculate that without knowing facts for sure. I'm sure some anime calculator would love to tear that apart, but I'm not that. But I actually do like Black a lot, and he's going to be the first character I put up in S tier. Next up, we've got Finrao. Well, Finrao. Finrao is introduced in episode 4, and he's a spatial magic user. He opens portals that you can teleport his squad mates through, teleport himself through. Honestly, I think that's probably one of the most awesome abilities that have been introduced so far. But he's mainly used as Yami's chauffeur because he's pretty much a little bitch. He's always chauffeuring Yami to the bathroom or his bedroom or wherever. Yami likes to go gambling, so he'll open a portal for Yami to go to the gambling alley. We find out he has a younger brother who outshines him and is even named the successor over Finrao because Finrao has no motivation to hurt people. That's his main thing. He doesn't want to hurt people and he doesn't want to get hurt, which is why he's so scared. We also learn that he doesn't like to fight and he'd rather hit on the ladies. There is absolutely no shame in his game. But when it comes down to it, he'll do whatever he can to help his squad, and I have a lot of respect for Finrao. But not enough to put him in S, so I'm going to put him in A tier. Next up here, we got Asta. The main character. He's your typical 15-year-old shonen protagonist, born with no magic in a world where magic is everything. He was left on the doorstep of a church as a baby and raised by Sister Lily, a nun, who he fell in love with, and also a preacher who he's not in love with. Asta has absolutely zero magic, but he gets a 5-leaf clover grimoire, which allows him to use his 2 anti-magic swords. His dream is to be the Wizard King and to one day marry Sister Lily, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get there. He does intense physical training and has guts of steel.
ジタバタして盛り上げてくれよ。おう、じゃあ行くぜ。
I really want to see how he proceeds, especially since at the very end of season 1 he got both of his arms broken, and he spent his entire life training his physical body because he didn't have magic, and then he just had 2 of his biggest assets broken on him. So I feels for the guy, but not enough to put him in S tier. I'm gonna put him in A tier as well. Then, oh yeah, we got Charming. She is true wife material. She's 19, she uses cotton magic and food magic. So you're always going to be hot and have a hot meal. And she's a total ham, pun intended. She can out-eat an army, and she's only 4'8". She often gets mistaken for a child. Actually, the Wizard King once asked Yami if that was his daughter, because she's so small. But just because she's small, that doesn't mean shit. If you mess with her food, she summons giant sheep that give a 3-hit KO almost every single time. Strike 1, strike 2, you're out. I love Charmy. She's an S tier, no doubt. Alright, and last but not least, you got Yami Superhero.
Deal us in for one more hand.
Really, sir? Hey, now. You have nothing left to wager. Not even underwear. It's true. He took everything we had.
Let's get this over with. The sooner we start, the sooner we'll be done. You take it seriously enough for all of us. No, not yet. Here's my offer. One last hand, that's all. If we win, then you give us back everything.
He's my personal favorite character, and he is the captain of the Black Bulls. He's voiced by Chris Sabat, who, if you've watched Dragon Ball Z, that's the voice of Vegeta for the English dub. He's a 28-year-old dark magic mage, always seen with a cigarette, and ready to kill anyone for pretty much no reason. He's from a foreign land, and he got lost at sea as a kid, and he washed up in the Clover Kingdom. He's often mistreated because he's an outsider until Julius, the Wizard King, recruits him into the Magic Knights. He gives his squad excellent advice like, don't screw up or I'll kill you, and surpass your limits or die. He's also the first person to consciously use ki, and he even teaches Asta how to sense it as well. His one-liners are my favorite, and he is a katana that can literally cut through dimensions.
You guys have already risked your lives fighting him. It's about time for your captain to take a turn. Real good work, all of you. Who am I kidding? This is the best part. I meant it, though. You all did a fine job. But you're the reason I can push past my limits. Don't waste your time. You humans will taste despair! Yes, despair! Would you shut up about your damn despair already, you freak? Dark magic. Dark cloaks. Dimensions.
I freaking love him. I should actually create a tier just for Yami, but he's going to go in S tier. So that's it for the tier, guys. In S, we've got Luck, Charmy, and Yami. In A, we have Noel, Magna, Finrao, and Asta. In B, we've got Ghosh and Vanessa. C tier, we have Gordon and Gray. And unknown is Zora. I hope to meet him soon. He looks pretty interesting. Alright guys, thanks a lot for stopping in. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all later.